Hi, this is African Time. The name is Vadashi as usual. Well, recently I saw some world ranking and I got so surprised to see that there are 3 African countries that was part in this world ranking. I was like, yo, what is wrong? Why or what are these countries not doing right that they actually got to be featured on this? Well, it will shock you to see this, but we actually need to discuss this as a continent, okay? Why is this so rampant in these 3 African countries? Sadly, South Africa though. See, okay, so World of Statistics. It is a page on X, big account on X. Okay, they talks and do world statistics concerning every ranking you can actually think of, and they actually ranked it according to the world. But recently they shared this and says world ranking or statistics are concerning people in prison across the world. Okay, all right, so according to the world statistics, they say that people in prison, so number 1 on the list is United States with about 1.8 million people. Number 2 is China, about 1.6 million people. Number 3 is Brazil, about 850,000 people. Number 4 is India, about 500,000 people. Number 5 is Russia, about 433,000 people. Number 6 is Turkey, about 362,000 people. Number 7 is Thailand, about 274,000 people. Number 8 is Indonesia. So Indonesia is number 8 with about 273,000 people. Number 9 is Mexico with about 233,000 people. Number 10 is Iran. That is Iran, yeah. Middle East, having about 189,000 people. And at number 11 is an African country, South Africa, with about 157,000 people. 157,000 people are in jail in South Africa, of a country of a population of about 60 million people. And at number 12 again, we had another African country, that is Egypt, having about 120,000 million people. So what is happening here? But guess what? It's not done. We had about 3 African countries representing this. Now, we have Pakistan, we have Bangladesh, and then at number 15, we have Nigeria. Nigeria having about 84,000 people in prison. Now, this is where it all got interesting, okay? South Africa being the highest in Africa right now. Based on this, you can actually say that they are number 11 globally, but they are actually number 1 in Africa with the the country with a lot of people in prison. So South Africa have about 157,000 people in prison, and then number 2 on the list is Egypt, having about 120,000 people in prison, and number 3 is Nigeria, having about 84,000 people. Wow! Now let's get it straight. In the case of Nigeria are actually the most populated country in Africa, having about 200 million people, but have about 84,000 people in cells or in jail or in prisons. Compared to their population, it's actually, I won't say too good to have people in prison, but if they actually deserve to be there, or they are actually, by the law, they have broken the law and they have to be there, But having a lot of prisoners is also not good for the people. But relatively concerning the Nigerian population with the people in prison, I'll say it's actually cool, understandable. Now, on the number 3 on Africa's country with the highest business, that is Egypt. Egypt have a population of about 100 million people, and they have about 120,000 people in cells too. Well, not that bad, makes sense relatively, but they need to do better. The country needs to work on their economy and to ease these kind of people going to the prisons. Okay, now to number 1 on the list, that is South Africa. South Africa have about 60 million people as a population, and then they have 157,000 people in cells. What is happening in South Africa? No, let's be serious here. What is actually the crime system in South Africa here? Why are you guys leading this based on your population, though? Mind you, another country like Kenya also have about 60 million people too in Africa, but Kenya was not listed here, and South Africa could have been maybe down about top 10 or top 20. It's fair, but why are you guys leading this? How is the crime rate in South Africa actually is? If not just crime, but like how are people actually not following the laws and the rules of the country? How are things actually working or happening in South Africa? Can someone actually share? We really need to know this. What is happening in South Africa? Okay, so to broaden our knowledge of learning, to actually see how the South Africa topping this list is actually serious. Is about this is highest homicide rate, that is victims per 100,000 inhabitants. Okay, so if you think about people living in a community of about 100,000 people, you actually see I want to see how much of crime that happens, or homicide that happens in about 100,000 inhabitants. Okay, so we are going to see this based on the country and then the percentage wise. Okay, so number one on the list is Jamaica. Jamaica is said to have about 53.34% concerning homicide in about 100,000 inhabitants, okay, per victim. Good. Now number two again is South Africa. South Africa have about 45.53 homicide. Yo, that's globally though. Second globally, South Africa is topping this than USA. South Africa, why? Number three is Haiti. With number four is Lesotho. Yo, Lesotho is also inside South Africa, though it's an independent, but it's also part of the highest homicide rates in the world. We have Honduras, we have Ecuador, Mexico, Colombia, and then Nigeria being number 9 here with 21.74%, and then lastly is Brazil with 20.60%. So in the highest homicide rates, that is our victims per 100,000 inhabitants, African countries that was listed here was number 2 was South Africa, was globally is number 2 is South Africa, but number 1 in Africa though with 45.53, and then number 2 of homicide rates victims per 100,000 inhabitants is Nigeria, and also number 9 globally with about 21.74% of homicides. Now South Africa is so huge with this one, because concerning the population of Nigeria and having this, actually it's relatively they can actually still control it. But South Africa, how is it hard to control? Not until we saw Lesotho being part of this. What is actually happening in Southern Africa? How is your crime rate actually going on? Okay, how is things actually going on happening? I wish someone from South Africa or from the Southern Africa country, Lesotho, to also explain to me why they are. I will never say it's actually good to have the highest crime rate or prisoners, but we really need to have the core solution to this. What is happening in South Africa or in these African countries, namely Egypt, Nigeria, and then South Africa? These guys made the world's toppest prison people. A lot of people in prison recently, and then people were talking, and I'm here to ask why. Okay, that is Vidashi, and this was African Time. Thank you for your time, and I want to see your point of view at the comment section. Let me know what is actually happening in Africa. Then let's have a quick discussion about our continent and how we can progress as a people. See you guys around.